Hi, I'm the artist who painted the painting behind me. It was just a portion of it, and it's called Unafraid and Unashamed. A painting I believe I was inspired to paint in support of the presidential campaign of Mr. Donald Trump. A few thoughts I've had of late, and myself being a Christian, being someone who has great faith in God's hand upon this nation, God's great love for America, as upset and angry as we can be at the departure that we see in this great country from its founding values, its founding faith, as disturbing as it is to people of faith, we can always have hope based upon our history that dramatic things can take place to try to realign and to redirect the direction of this nation towards the destiny, the divine destiny that I believe God has for this country. Sometimes we throw up our hands in despair and we think it's all over and the judgment's going to come and then it's over and there's no chance of turning back. That may be. Many times judgment is the only way to turn back to God, and a judgment that can be, nationally devastating. Many times before that happens, God continually gives us chances and opportunities to turn around, to repent as a people, as a nation, and to turn back and to reject and renounce the things of darkness and to turn back and embrace the realities that made this nation great. And I believe that that's the case with what is happening with Donald Trump. As far as myself as a Christian, I've seen lots of discord amongst Christians as to whether or not to support or vote for Donald Trump, whether or not he's a Christian, a disciple of Jesus. The evangelical core of the voting base is so critical to winning the election that I personally believe that it's my duty to encourage Christians to try to step back a little bit and step out of their preconceived notions of what the candidate should be like and the criteria that we're putting or oftentimes put up as a measure by which we can select a candidate. There are many fine Republican candidates running for the presidency right now, and some of them with a very obvious faith in Jesus Christ that is commendable and is honorable. And yet, if that's our only criteria for choosing a leader, sometimes you can have a great Christian, a very devoted Christian, and is a good person and is capable in different areas, but they're not a great leader. You can have someone who's good in politics. You can have somebody who's good in the Senate. You can have somebody who's good as a manager of a business, or even in the case of Dr. Ben Carson, somebody who's a great doctor and highly intelligent and articulate in understanding issues and expressing issues through a Christian worldview. There are great candidates out there with great ideas. But for me, it's looking for a leader, and true leadership in this country is absent. You hear Donald Trump many times saying the leaders that we have are idiots and they're stupid, and sadly it's true. And what I believe is the case is that it's not really that they're stupid, it's just that they are held in a position of leadership that they actually can't function in fully because they're not fully leaders. They're more managers. They're good at managing stuff and keeping stuff going the way it was, or trying to implement their ideas here and there, but they're not leaders. And we've forgotten what true leadership is, true statesman-like leadership. And it's an issue in the church as well. It's the issue in the Christian church today as well. We have a church full of professional pastors and professional leaders, and yet the church itself is in crisis, like the nation is in crisis. The church is no better off, and I believe the nation being in crisis is really a reflection of the church being in crisis, and Christian leadership suffering the same systemic corruption and problems that the government is suffering. And that is basically an absence of true leadership, of true men and women who can rise up, grab hold of the reins of whatever it is that they are to lead and truly lead. we've seen it throughout history, great leaders arising at critical times in history to do great things of good, great things. We think of Winston Churchill many times as a leader who was obviously risen up at a specific time in history to stand against the massive horde of Nazi invaders that were decimating nations in Europe and massing on the borders of northern France to potentially invade the United Kingdom. And God raises up this man who leads a little tiny nation in a defiant, resistance against Nazi Germany, sufficient to maintain the nation, maintain the integrity and safety of the nation long enough until the United States entered the war, and obviously by then the tides turned. But great leaders are, I believe, gifts from God at critical times in history. And many times, it's not easy to recognize them because they look so odd and different and unacceptable and out of the ordinary or outside the box. We get so fine-tuned into our little boxes and what they should look like, and they need to cross all the little dots or cross the T, should I say, and dot the I's, and we've got these little lists, and many times the list, you just read the Bible, it's always the same. God raises up leaders and the people don't recognize them. America's a great nation where great leaders have been able to rise up and do great things, and that's because it's a country that permits people who are outside the box, who are outside the institutions. They're being called the insurgent candidates today, or they're, the outside the establishment candidates, or the non-establishment, the non-political. And it's true. Donald Trump was not a politician. Obviously, he's dabbled in politics in different ways or levels, being in business and dealing with politicians, and has an understanding of the political system. But he's not a politician. He's been a businessman. He's not a pastor or a minister, and he's not been a great Christian in the sense of anything spectacular by any means. I think he's more of a religious person who happened to have been born onto the Christian team. Donald Trump's team colors are Christianity. It's the cross and Christ, and that's his team. And the great thing about that is that Donald Trump is a fighter when it comes to leading, and a leader when it comes to winning, and a winner when it comes to winning. And so it happens that Christianity falls in his lap as the banner and the flag that he's going to defend and champion and win with, because that's his jersey colors. That's what he is. And, we can't try to make him out to be what he's not. He is what he is. The good news is that, everybody can come to a great converting experience of faith and be dramatically changed. And that's maybe something that we'll see in the life of Donald Trump. But regardless of that, the criteria for leadership is someone who actually can lead, someone who actually can see the deep-seated systemic problems that this nation has, and not stand there in a political campaign and give all the answers. It's like people are so sick and tired of politicians who've got up over the years and told out their plan, this is what I'm going to do, this is what I'm going to do, this is how I'm going to do it, or whatever. They give all this fancy spiel. They get into the White House, and then they realize they can't do it, and before long it's broken promises. The reason is because they promise, or they overpromise too much, because reality is you got to get into the machine, and you got to see what's going on, and listen to the engine and hear where the problems are, and get in there and try to fix them. And if that doesn't work, you try something else. It's a process. It's not something that somebody on a campaign trail can have a 10-point plan of fixing the country, and everyone goes, ooh, and yeah, and it's going to. No, it's not like that. That's not a leader. A leader's not going to do that. He's not going to say what he can't ultimately do. He'll say the things he can do. And I'm going to build a wall. You know why? Because he's a builder, and he knows how to build walls. He knows how to build stuff. He knows how to do that. He can say that without a doubt. Well, how are you going to do it? It doesn't matter how. Because he's a builder. He's going to get there, and he'll get engineers and plans and blah, 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 and he'll build a wall. It's not a big deal. It's just he knows he can do that. There are many areas where he can speak with great confidence because he has great ability of experience. But as far as the mechanics of the political system or the mechanics of the running of government, he's never run a country before. He's going to have to get in there, and he's going to have to discover how it works. He's going to have to fine-tune and get advisors in and listen and learn, and it's a learning. And I've watched him in this campaign. He is a learner. He is learning. He's not up there just spouting and not listening. He's up there listening. I watched him in that second debate, and he was listening and learning. And if you watched his comments at the end of the debate, he said, and I think it was Cuomo that was asking him, so who do you think did well, trying to pull him in? And he said, everyone did well. Everyone did great. And I think it's because he really saw the incredibly qualified field around him. And he's the type of leader that sees leadership in other people. He's ran that show, that apprentice show, for all those years, and he specialized in dealing with highly professional, highly skilled, highly intelligent, qualified people to do things that were leadership things. And he's been watching them. I mean, the school that he's been in is incredible. And when you're someone that's outside the common stream of thinking of how you should be groomed for the presidency and the presentation and this type of way you speak, it's all pre-planned, and the right candidate's going to stand there and act presidential and all this stuff. And he wants to be himself. He wants to be able to just shake off that garbage and be a man and say, we've got problems, and I'm courageous enough to get in there and use my skills and abilities to fix these problems. That's what I see in Donald Trump. That's what I see in this man who wants to grab hold of the wheel and steer this nation back into its destiny. Now, the point of my sharing today is, I'm meditating on him, and I'm thinking, in history, there's been great times when God has done great things that has, advanced the cause of Christianity. And I was thinking of Emperor Constantine, and, someone who has this vision on a battlefield and of a cross and goes out to conquer with the sign of the cross. And great advances are made in the advancement of Christianity and the Christianization of the Western world through great leaders like that. And I was thinking, it's as if, the rise of Donald Trump, or the age of Donald Trump, may very well be the end times, Emperor Constantine, of our day, in the sense that he'll be a leader of the magnitude and ability of someone of that stature, who will be someone to ultimately champion the cause of Christ, be the defender of the Christian faith. He is someone who has come out repeatedly non-stop in his defense of Christians, his awareness of Christian persecution throughout the world, his wanting to champion the Christian cause. I mean, he says it repeatedly, always trying to get votes. No, it's because it's his team. And he sees what's happening in the world. He sees what's happening to other people who are on his team in other countries and who are on his team in this land. And he's like, you know what? We got to fix that. We got to fight. We got to make that right. We got to win. That's who he is. That's the way he operates. And so to Christians, I say this. It's like, I see in Donald Trump the potential of a Constantine, the potential of a man who will have an encounter that radically changes his life, as we pray for him and seek God for him, that will bring an infusion of divine power and guidance that will add to his massive palette of experience and the tools that he has and the team that he has, will add a dimension that will make this nation great again. And I believe it's our responsibility to do that. And this is not to downplay the others. They're, like I said, fine men and women. They all have great qualities and experience. And I just wish, as I said in another video, that they would just throw the hat in and say, listen, you got to just read the handwriting on the wall. This guy is the guy that's got the guts. He's got the chutzpah. He's got the tools. He's got the grit to do this. And these other guys just don't have that. They don't have that leadership edge. They do have great skills and experience and knowledge and understanding of policy and law. I mean, it's great stuff. And it's like, my goodness, for the sake of America, can you just not swallow your pride for a day? Give it up and just jump on the bandwagon, and say, you know what, don't let him be the president. You guys take a cabinet position and support and go out there. He can't do it all. He needs this massive body of qualified men and women in the race and in this country to rally around him, to take weight and carry burden and responsibility to make change in all the facets of society. He can't do it all. He can do his job. And if his job as a leader is raising up leadership who will be great instruments in fixing this country's problems, my goodness, that is the type of leader that we want. A leader of leaders. A leader of leaders, not a manager who runs a restaurant, Not a manager who just manages stuff or just has been a manager. No, a leader of leaders. And when you see like that apprentice show as a school, imagine if that was Donald Trump's university that God had him in, training him to see and understand potential and skill and leadership, and to see that. There's no one who has a better grasp on that because of that massive amount of experience that he's had. And then in the business world, and as a negotiator and making massive deals and thinking and dealing in big, fat money sums, billions of dollars, that stretched his mind to comprehend negotiating and dealing in things that the average person like myself can't. You can't think in those terms because it's not our realm of experience. But he's got it. And coupled with his love for this country, a family man, a love for traditional American values. He's a red hot-blooded male. He loves his wife. We know that this is, in the sexuality issue, we know that he loves traditional values when it comes to marriage. These things are critical. The understanding of abortion, he's come to understand, through seeing someone's child who was going to be aborted. And he's like, oh my goodness, they could have killed this child, and now the child's alive, and it's an amazing person. That spoke to him. That changed his heart. And he needs to get a better grasp on those things, and he will, because he's a smart guy, not because just he's intelligent, but he's a learner. And I've watched him learn, and I've watched him grow, and he is growing into the mantle. That is an enormous mantle, which is to be the presidency of the United States. But he is growing and learning, and I believe he is the best man for the job. I believe that he is God's man for the job, and I believe that he will make America great again. God bless you, and God bless this great country, and God bless Donald J. Trump. Thank you.